Greetings, friends, and welcome to this special presentation on the secret destiny of America. I want to begin by pointing out, for those that read my last book, The Messenger, you may immediately have a hint as to what's behind the unusual title of my upcoming book, part of which this presentation is based. The book is titled Zeitgeist 2025. Now, if you don't understand the connection, then I highly recommend you read The Messenger, as it's filled with the most incredible discoveries involving how, exactly 3.5 years before the original date set by NASA for the asteroid Apophis, which I argue is biblical wormwood at the middle of what most evangelicals and some Catholics call the 7-year Great Tribulation period, to come crashing down on this planet, April 13, 2029. The high holy days of the Feast of Tabernacles will be unfolding on Earth. Just a few days before that will be the Feast of Trumpets. And 120 days earlier, which is the biblical numerology for the end of mankind, is Pentecost. Now, all three of these festivals are strongly tied by eschatologists to the second coming of Jesus Christ. But before I get to how America's secret destiny is tied to the year 2025 and the prophecy of wormwood or Apophis, you may have seen recently where NASA is calling an all clear on the impact possibility of Apophis for the year 2029. But what they're not telling you is that a number of celebrated scientists disagree. For example, one mathematician is warning that NASA's trajectory calculation of Apophis is off by as much as 600,000 miles, which Harry Lear implies could send Apophis crashing into Earth 8 years from now on April 13, 2029. Lear even sent an open letter to the President of the United States and U.S. government scientists, begging them to cross-check these calculations from NASA immediately, even though he ends his dispatch with an ominous admonition that we're probably already out of time. More impressive than Lear, top 100 scientist Nathan Myhrvold, in a recent peer-reviewed paper titled An Empirical Examination of Wise, Neo-Wise Asteroid Analysis and Results, refutes much of the data from NASA, and he actually charges them with deliberately misreporting threats by near-Earth objects and even of behaving, quote, extremely deceptively with deliberate scientific misconduct in a cover-up of very real and potentially imminent space threats. And then there is famous planetary scientist and astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, who admits that on April 13, 2029, quote, Apophis will come so close to Earth that it'll dip below our orbiting communication satellites. It will be the largest, closest thing we have ever observed to come by Earth. The orbit we now have for it is uncertain. Pay attention to that. Because, he says, these things are hard to measure and hard to get an exact distance for, and, quote, we cannot tell you exactly where that trajectory will be, end quote. Now that list goes on, and it connects to other important information that I examine in the groundbreaking new book, Zeitgeist 2025, concerning why I believe that mankind has indeed most likely entered the last decade of history as it has been known, what prophecy teachers call the church age, and how the several unusual things that you're going to learn in that book set that work apart from all other books on prophecy. Now, among the amazing things that you're going to discover within those pages is how the Essenes of Dead Sea Scrolls fame were one of the ancient prophecy communities that predicted over 2,000 years ago that mankind would indeed enter its final age or jubilee cycle 4 years from now in 2025, 3.5 years before Apophis smashes into our world. Assuming for the moment that I'm right, and that the asteroid Apophis is biblical wormwood, and therefore 2029 represents a period around the middle of the Great Tribulation period when the trumpet judgments began. Monday, October 13, 2025, that is April 13, 2029 minus 3.5 years, that would be the approximate start date for what dispensationalists call the 7 years of tribulation foreseen in the Bible in such places as Matthew 24, Revelation 7, Daniel 12, and so on. But besides prophecy, 2025 is intriguing in that it's also the year envisioned 10 years ago in a series of studies co-organized by the Atlantic Council and government organizations from Europe, the United States, Beijing, Tokyo, Dubai, other partnering nations that led the United States National Intelligence Council and the European Institute of Security Studies to produce a report that I encourage you to read titled Global Governance 2025 at a Critical Juncture. And in that document, the highest level intelligence agencies in the world determined that a global government could emerge around 2025 from what they called an unprecedented threat that would materialize, requiring all nations to lay down their differences and to come together in mutual defense of one another against an unprecedented menace. Among some of the things that they foresaw included knowledge of an incoming asteroid, a new pandemic, which I happen to believe Apophis is also bringing with it via an extremophile microorganism that has a virus inside of it. They also foresaw biotech-created new forms of humanity representing an existential threat.